Have you ever felt like this? You're sitting with people, maybe your friends, maybe your family, or even in a group conversation. Everyone is talking, laughing, engaging with each other, but somehow, you feel invisible. It's not like they said anything directly. It's not like they told you to stay quiet. But still, you feel like you're not really seen. You try to join the conversation, but no one responds the way you expected. You say something, and it gets ignored. Or someone else says this, and suddenly everyone reacts. And in that moment, a small thought appears in your mind. Why does this keep happening to me? At first, you try to ignore it. You tell yourself, it's nothing. I'm just overthinking. But deep inside, it doesn't feel like nothing. It feels real. Because this isn't just a one-time thing. It happens again and again, in different places, with different people. And slowly, that feeling becomes familiar. That feeling of being left out, unnoticed, ignored. And the worst part is, you can't fully explain it, because technically, you are there, but emotionally, it feels like you're not. At first, it feels small. Just a moment, just a feeling. But your mind doesn't leave it there. It starts replaying it. That one moment, when no one reacted. That 1 second, when your words felt unheard. You go back to it again and again, trying to understand. What exactly happened? Did I say something wrong? Was my tone off? Did they just not hear me? At first, your questions are simple, but slowly, they start changing. They don't really care about what I say. Maybe I'm just not interesting. Maybe I don't matter as much. And without realizing it, a single moment turns into a belief. Your brain doesn't like uncertainty, so it tries to fill the gap, and most of the time, it fills it with something negative. Not because it's true, but because it feels familiar. Every interaction feels different. You start observing more, analyzing more, questioning more. Someone doesn't reply quickly. You notice it. Someone talks over you. You remember it. Someone doesn't react. You feel it deeply. And suddenly, you are no longer just experiencing moments. You are collecting evidence. Evidence that supports one idea. I am being ignored. Even if people are not actually ignoring you, your mind starts seeing it everywhere. And this changes how you act. You speak less. You hesitate more. You think before every sentence, not because you don't have anything to say, but because you don't want to feel ignored again. And slowly, you start becoming quiet. Not naturally, but protectively. Because staying silent feels safer than feeling invisible. And this creates a loop. You feel ignored, so you speak less. You speak less, so people notice you less. And when they notice you less, you feel even more ignored. Sometimes, you're not being ignored. You're slowly disappearing because of what you started believing. But here's something important to understand. What you feel is not always what is happening. Your brain doesn't show you reality exactly as it is. It shows you a version of reality based on your past experiences, your belief, and your emotional state. If you already feel unnoticed, your brain becomes more sensitive to anything that looks like being ignored. A delayed response feels intentional. A missed reaction feels personal. A small silence feels like rejection. But in reality, those moments might not even be about you. People get distracted. People get busy. People don't always notice everything. But your mind connects it to you. Because your brain is trying to protect you. It wants to prepare you for possible rejection. So it scans your environment looking for signs, and when it finds something, even small, it highlights it. Now, you are not just seeing things as they are. You are seeing them through a filter that says, I am being ignored. Once this belief starts forming, your brain begins to look for proof. It notices only the moments that support that belief and ignores everything else. Someone talked to you normally, you forget it. Someone didn't react, you remember it. Your mind doesn't just observe reality, it creates a pattern, and then starts proving it. And slowly, you start living in a version of reality that feels true, but may not be fully accurate. Which is why, even when people are not ignoring you, you still feel like they are. Sometimes, the way you feel today has nothing to do with the present moment. It comes from the past. Think about this. If someone has felt ignored before, not once, but repeatedly, that feeling doesn't just disappear. It stays. For some people, this starts very early. Maybe they were not heard enough. Maybe their opinions were not valued. Maybe they were interrupted or overlooked again and again. So their brain learns something. It creates a belief. My voice doesn't matter. And once that belief is formed, it doesn't just stay in the past, it follows them. Now, even in new situations, with new people, that same feeling appears, not because the situation is the same, but because the belief is still active. Your past doesn't just shape your memories, it shapes how you interpret the present. Imagine two people in the same situation. Someone doesn't respond to both of them. One person thinks they must be busy. The other thinks they are ignoring me. Same moment, different meaning. Because of past conditioning, one person doesn't carry that belief, the other does. Sometimes, you're not reacting to what is happening, you're reacting to what it reminds you of. And this makes the feeling stronger, because now, it's not just about the present, it's connected to multiple past experiences, which is why, even small moments today, feel much bigger inside you. Sometimes, it's not about your worth, it's about how attention works. In any group, people don't give equal attention to everyone. Attention naturally flows towards certain things: loud voices, confident expressions, strong energy, clear communication. People who speak with certainty usually get noticed more. Not because they are better, but because they are easier to notice. If you speak softly, or hesitate, or think too much before speaking, your presence becomes less visible, not invisible, but less dominant. In group settings, visibility matters more than intention. Imagine this: you have a thought, you want to say something, but before you say it, you think, is this the right time? Will this sound okay? What if no one responds? And in that moment of hesitation, someone else speaks louder, faster, more confidently, and the attention shifts to them. From your side, it feels like you were ignored, but in reality, your moment just passed. People are not always consciously ignoring you, they are just following where their attention goes, and attention moves fast. Sometimes, you're not being ignored, you're just being outpaced, but your mind doesn't see it that way. It still feels personal, because you were ready to speak, but the moment disappeared. And this adds to the same belief: I am being ignored. But beyond everything, there is one reason that connects all of this together. How you feel about yourself quietly shapes how you experience the world. If somewhere deep inside, you feel like you are not enough, that feeling doesn't stay hidden. It shows up in your thoughts, in your reactions, in your interpretations. When you speak, you are not just speaking words. You are also carrying a silent question. Do I matter? Will they listen? Am I worth their attention? And when that question exists, every small reaction from others feels bigger. A missed response feels like rejection. A neutral reaction feels like disinterest. People's behavior doesn't always define your worth, but your belief about your worth defines how you interpret their behavior. If you believe, I am not important, your mind will filter reality to match that belief, even when it's not true. Someone doesn't respond immediately. Instead of thinking, they're busy, your mind says they don't care. Your self-worth becomes the lens through which you see everything, and slowly, you stop expressing yourself fully, not because you don't have thought, but because you don't feel confident. At some point, you begin to notice something, not about others, but about yourself. You realize that this feeling keeps repeating. Different people, different situations, but the same emotion. Feeling ignored, feeling unseen, feeling like you don't fully belong. And that's when a question appears. Is it really happening every time? Or am I experiencing it the same way every time? This is where things start to change, because now, you are not just reacting, you are observing. You begin to see that not every moment was actually rejection. Some were misunderstandings, some were distractions, some were just normal human behavior. But your mind gave them all the same meaning. You notice the pattern. A moment happens, down pointing arrow. You feel ignored, down pointing arrow. You overthink, down pointing arrow. You create a belief, down pointing arrow. You act differently next time, down pointing arrow. And the same thing repeats. It's not just what happens to you, it's how you process it that creates your experience. And this realization gives you something important: choice. The choice to not automatically believe every thought, the choice to not turn every silence into rejection. You start pausing before reacting, before assuming, before overthinking. And in that pause, you create space. Awareness doesn't change the world, it changes how you experience the world. And once this awareness begins, the pattern slowly starts breaking. So the real question is, what do you actually do when you constantly feel ignored? You don't fix this by forcing people to notice you. You fix this by changing how you see yourself. Step 1. Question the feeling. The next time you feel ignored, pause and ask yourself, is this really happening? Or, is this how I am interpreting it? This small question creates distance between you and your thought. It stops your mind from turning every moment into a negative belief. Thought balloon. Step 2. Change the story. Instead of saying, they are ignoring me, try saying, maybe they didn't notice, maybe they are distracted, maybe it's not about me. Not every situation needs a negative explanation. Bullseye. Step 3. Speak without overthinking. Most of the time, you lose your moment before you even speak because you are thinking too much. So start small. Say what you want to say without perfect timing, without perfect words. Confidence is not about being loud, it's about being present. Seedling. Step 4. Stop seeking validation. If you speak only to get a reaction, you will always feel ignored because your focus is on them, not on yourself. When you stop needing validation, you stop feeling invisible. Person in lotus position. Step 5. Be comfortable with silence. Not every moment needs a response. Not every sentence needs validation. Sometimes silence is just silence, not rejection. And when you start understanding this, something shifts. You feel lighter. Not because people change, but because your perception changed. You stop chasing attention and start owning your presence. Sometimes you will feel ignored, not because you don't matter, not because you are not enough, but because not every moment is about you. And the moment you understand this, something inside you changes. You stop taking everything personally. You stop assuming the worst. And most importantly, you stop questioning your worth based on other people's reactions. You realize that your presence doesn't depend on how loudly others respond. It exists, even in silence. Not everyone will notice you in every moment, and that's okay, because your value is not measured by how much attention you receive. You begin to speak without fear. You begin to express without hesitation. Not because you are sure people will react, but because you are no longer afraid if they don't. When you stop needing to be noticed, you finally stop feeling invisible. And slowly, that heavy feeling starts to fade. Not because the world changed, but because you did. So the next time you feel ignored, pause and remind yourself, maybe I am not being ignored. Maybe I am just learning to see myself differently. Because in the end, the moment you stop searching for attention is the moment you start finding yourself.